Your Honor, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Rudy Lopez. I'm with Being on Human TV, and just want to say that I'm very excited to be here in front of you. Let me give you a little bit of background about myself. At 21 years old, I was sent into prison by an LA Superior Court judge for a DUI accident that caused the death of an 18-year-old. Your film was fascinating because there was a lot of themes and a lot of messages in the story that definitely I found inspiring, I found motivating, I found healing. So it's exciting that I'm here today in front of a judge, but under different circumstance to tell the amazing story. So I'm very happy to be here. Tell me, Judge, when you were invited by Raphael to come speak at the Midnight Mission, what did you expect?
Well, let me clarify something. It was not Raphael who invited me here.
Okay.
It was another individual that I had sentenced to prison.
Gotcha.
Okay, I actually, once the program got started, since Raphael and my friendship predates the founding of the running club by many years, that's when I said, Raphael, this is what I'm doing. Do you want to participate?
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
I met Raphael in prison at a lifer hearing.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. When you came here and you were asked how you can contribute, how did you come up with the idea that running is something that would be the best contribution?
Well, with 3 children in college, I figured my wallet was pretty tapped, so I had to perhaps devote some of my time.
Yeah.
And I had read an article a few years back in Runner's World of a woman who had started a running program back on the East Coast for ex-felons. And so I said, ex-felons, people in recovery, close enough. Okay? and that's how it started.
Fantastic. Do you remember the first day that you spoke to the people here at the Midnight Mission? What was their response when you invited them out?
It was a very humble response. There was no general addressing the people at the Midnight Mission. It was simply notice that there was going to be a run in the afternoon. At most, there were 3 people of the mission who came out.
Okay.
So very small numbers. And I would return on subsequent afternoons. I might get 1 or 2 runners to go with me. They indicated to me that afternoons were problematic. They were in their counseling sessions. They had to leave the mission to go to the Pacific Group AA program. So I says, okay, well, if afternoons aren't good for you, how about early in the morning? And that struck the right note. And once we started to run in the mornings, over time, the club has grown and grown and grown.
How many members are in the club today?
We have probably about 50 active members.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. The first group that came out, what was unique about them that, as you're waiting to start the run and the first group that showed up, what was unique about them?
Well, one thing I want to make clear is I am sensitive to the fact that every human being is unique, special, and individual.
Okay.
And so, if I haven't acquired that wisdom in my 60 years on this planet, then I have no business being a judge. And so, the first 2 or 3 runners, I understand that their life circumstance is very different from mine, but they have unique stories to tell, and running was a great mechanism for us to get to know one another and for those stories to come out. I remember one of the first runners was a gentleman by the name of Fuller. He had flames tattooed coming up his neck. Terribly engaging individual. In very short amount of time during our runs, we'd have these lengthy discussions about religion, philosophy, but I knew what I was in store for from the very beginning.
During your runs, are you sharing words of wisdom, or is everyone just focused on finishing the run, and you're kind of, as people approach you with questions, you're able to share?
All of the above and more.
Gotcha.
Certain runs, you know, I'm just listening, because sometimes that's all a person wants you to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just real light conversation. It's running conversation. You know, are you nursing an injury? You know, what race is coming up?
Yeah.
Then other times, you know, it's very heavy. These are the people that I've hurt in my life. These are the disappointments that I don't know if I can overcome. These are the challenges to my recovery that I'm facing. And periodically then, yes, I do weigh in and I offer encouragement, some direction.
Sure.
Okay.
A couple times in the film, you were calling Ben and Raphael decent human beings. The interesting thing was that Ben had a hard time either hearing that or accepting that as he was reading your letter of recommendation that he was going to submit to the school in San Francisco. And yet Raphael seemed to embrace it. How important is self-image as these individuals, how they see themselves and in their transformation process?
It's critical. Larry Adamson, the past president of the Midnight Mission, made a observation that has stuck with me. You know, he said, essentially, we are in the self-esteem business. And I appreciate the fact that people who end up homeless, in a homeless mission, confronting their addiction. Ben Shirley knew that everything that defined success had been stripped away from him. Materially, he had lost his home, he had lost his relationships, he was estranged from his family, and that's where that reaction from him came. Now, someone like Raphael was at a point in his life where his self-destructive behavior was many years past. And he has and had the benefit of a family that never left his side. For his 29 years and 8 months in prison, they continued to extend their love, their time, would visit him. And so mentally he was at a different place.
Yeah. You had a quote during the film that really, I started crying when I heard that, and that was, "One horrendous act does not define a person in his or her entirety." That was powerful. Do you feel that anyone that's homeless, that's trying to turn their life around, they need to know that? They need to know that whatever happened, your past that led you to where you're at today, it's not your defining moment.
It isn't, and that is what I think is so powerful about the film, and what I hope people in the community, in the larger audience that views the film, comes to appreciate. You know, you walk these streets of Skid Row, you're going to see people who are at their worst. But if you peel that away, if you reinstill in them a sense of self-worth, you give them the tools to deal with their addiction, you guide them so that they can return to the workforce. There are many Ben Shirleys and Raphaels and Rebecca Hayeses out there who have a lot to offer. And I think it's important for the larger world to understand we can't afford to just write them off, because if we do, we are depriving our communities of people who have a tremendous amount to give.
I noticed that the gratitude that the characters had, that kind of spoke to me that this is about second chances for them. Starting with you, where does that come from, that you can look at individuals and have that, I'm giving them a second chance or giving them an opportunity to turn their life around?
It is rooted in the fact that I taught high school for 17 years. 10 of those years were at a Catholic high school. And I would almost every day address my students. If I wanted them to be quiet at the beginning of the class, get their attention, I used a phrase, and it may sound a little bit corny, but I would say, children of God, okay, let's focus. Turn to such and such a page. But I believe that, okay? They were not, it was just not, those were not empty words. And given that background, I mean, what is the New Testament about? I mean, what is Easter about but a second chance for humanity?
We have 1 more minute.
Sure. During the film, at one point you're in your office, and I noticed behind on the wall a frame of Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. What do they mean to you?
They inspire me. They show me what people can accomplish when they dedicate themselves to a certain objective. Abraham Lincoln had a total formal education of less than a year in a classroom. Self-taught man, grappled with the greatest nightmare that has ever confronted this country. And if Abraham Lincoln could stand up to the challenges that he faced, whatever little challenges are presented to me, whatever challenges exist for the runners in the running club, hey, if Abraham Lincoln could prevail, so can I, so can we.
Great. At the end of the film, it looks like Jerusalem is the next marathon. When is that, or has it already happened?
It has not happened. It is March of 2018, and we have a lot of our runners who are busy getting their passport photos and applying for their passports to go halfway around the world and partake of an experience that they will cherish for the rest of their lives. And having that type of a goal, when you know you're not going to Jerusalem unless month after month after month you maintain your sobriety. You're not going to get there unless you do that. It's a very powerful motivating tool.
Judge, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to switch you out up to the
Great.
and they're ready to come in.